All right, for this tutorial, we're going to add sounds to our Animate file of our bouncing ball. So this one's after our squash and stretch tutorial, so you should have a finished bouncing ball file. That looks pretty good. And we're going to make a bouncing sound go into this. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to go into freesound.org, as the previous tutorial stated, and I found a cartoon bounce sound. Now, I really enjoyed these sounds. It's just a recording of the same sound over and over. What I did, I went to Audition and I actually deleted a bunch of sounds. So there's the original file. I highlighted it, deleted, removed all the sounds that I didn't want, and removed the empty space. So we ended up with this final sound. Now I exported this as a WAV file. I tried to export it as an MP3 file for Animate, and it had some issues in importing. So I'd recommend doing a WAV. I'm just going File, making sure that it says a wave PCM, which is a WAV file, and making sure that you know where you're saving it and renaming it to something that you know. Now, once you've done that, you come into Animate, you open up your squash and stretch file. Now what we're going to do to add some sounds, we need to add it to our library. Just like any other file that we would add to our library, we go File, Import to Library. Then we find the sound and then import that, press Open. So that should come into just the sound file down in here. Now, just like if we were adding an image or something, we need to add a new layer. And we're just going to drag, while selecting that layer, we're going to drag the sound into our world. And it doesn't add anything to our stage, but it adds a keyframe up in here. Now, only this keyframe right here is where we can move it. We can't move the sound bite on any other section. Now, what you're going to do, you're going to scrub until you see where the ball bounces on the ground. So that's about there, because that's when it goes back up. So we want the sound to hit on that keyframe. Now you're going to click and drag, or click and drag to that keyframe, and it will move that sound bite. Now what you can do is you can copy the frame, and you can go to the next bounce, which is here, and you can go paste frames, and it should add that sound again. And then we can go to that last one, which is about there, and we can paste frames. So you should have all those sounds in there. Now, if you had a longer sound bite that you will overlap each other, I'd recommend putting it on new layers. So just adding a new layer and pasting the frames in there, or whichever way works for you. Now, once you've done that, you can have a listen to your sound, see if the ball bounces on that frame. So I'm just going to say sound bounce, so I know what it is. And then you press Control Enter, and you can have a listen. Now, if you wanted a more realistic sound, you probably wanted the sound to be softer over time. So it would be really loud, softer, softer. And those are some things that you can fix in your Audition file. And if you look in here, you can probably add some filters or something else to change that sound bite. But it's easier if you make those effects, you change those effects in Audition, but there is places where you can, in here, change how it sounds and how loud it is to make sure that you get the right sound that you want. So I can make that drop in sound with a custom one, that's okay, and do it again with a custom one down here, maybe. Okay, and then you can hear the differences in sounds. It slowly fades out. Once you've added sound to your bouncing ball, I want you to add a little whoosh sound to your character head movement to try and get that animation sound of him turning his head, and then submit both of those files as SWF files into Google Classroom. So you should have 2 files submitted into there with your soundbite files from the previous tutorial.